Alrighty folks, this one has taken a while, I apologise, but it's been highly requested and it's been pretty difficult to figure a lot of this stuff out, but I think I've managed to work out most of the kinks. This is ComfyUI in N8N. This is not just install the community node and that solves all your problems, because simply put, it doesn't. It just generates images and that's it. And if you just want to generate images, then happy days, but a lot of people want to be able to generate videos and do image to video and stuff like that, and incorporate that as part of another automation. That's why we're going to go beyond the basics here, because a simple community node here just won't cut it. It abstracts a lot of stuff, makes it very simple, which is fine, again, just for basic image gen. But installing ComfyUI, this is ridiculously easy. You don't even need Python installed, I don't think. I think it comes with its own embedded version, so I would recommend installing the portable version here. I'll put a link to this. This is the Comfy docs. So download this. This will be a zip file, and then just extract the contents. I've already extracted mine in, I've just got it in C, and then it's just all here. You can put this wherever you want. And then from there, we're just going to run this run NVIDIA BAT. Now, it does come with a CPU version. I've not really tried that, so you can play with that. I don't know, some models need NVIDIA to run. And there we go. I'm just going to close that there. By default, I'm not sure what will open up. Maybe this will open up for you. If you go to workflows and browse templates, the one that's open here is this image generation, this basic one. When you select this, it's going to pop up and say you need to download a model, and it will tell you, it will say copy the URL or download, and then it'll also tell you where to place that model. So generally, if we come back to where Comfy is, it'll be in ComfyUI and it'll be under models, and it'll tell you to put it in one of these folders. Generally, it'll be checkpoints or diffusion models. That's what I've done with this. This is just a standard XDL model, nothing special here. I'm just going to click run. Now, initially, it always takes a while for the model to initially load. This is a really small model. There's nothing fancy going on here. But as I go through the workflows, I am going to use runpod. It doesn't change anything. It just means instead of me using my local machine, I'm just using Comfy instance on runpod. That's it. I could probably do an installation guide or setup guide for that. It's pretty straightforward, but it's kind of not the focus of this video. A lot of people want to run this locally, so this is kind of how you do that. From here, and then from there, you'll get this export API. So with that, I'll just download. I've already got it downloaded 3 times, but this is what it looks like if I just resize this. Now you can open this up in a text, in a notepad or whatever. It doesn't need to be. I've got it in Visual Studio here, but you can open it up wherever. And then I'm going to highlight all of this, copy this, go back to my N8N. Now I'm going to, just for this example, I'm going to use this community node, and I'll put a link into where you can get this. It's pretty easy to install. You'll come over to your settings here, community nodes, and you can see I have it installed there. You can pretty much just put that in. If you click install, put that in. Now if you're on the cloud version, I don't think you'll be able to do this if you're on the N8N cloud version, but either way, this is something you're probably not really going to use anyway. I just wanted to kind of show this working. So if I just go back here, so with this, we've just copied that JSON file. So this is the API file. This is basically this entire workflow and all of its properties are in there. So in the Comfy node here, we can just paste that in, just like that. And we can, of course, come and change certain bits in here. Now this looks a bit complicated. It's really not. You'll see kind of like the K sampler here. You can see, oh, okay, well that must be this node here. And then it'll have all the sort of settings within there. A lot of the stuff you don't really need to change. Maybe you'll probably want to adjust the steps count in a lot of cases. You'll want to adjust the width and the height depending on what you're doing. But you don't need to worry about these VAD codes and the save image and stuff like that for with this. So if we scroll down, this is one in, we can see here, this is where the prompt is. So we can put any prompt in we want there. I'm just going to leave that as it is. And it's a shame that these nodes, they come in as numbers, so it's not this. If I come back here, so this is named prompt, and it would be nice if that was named prompt, but for reasons it's not, it's numbered, so it's not entirely obvious, you know, oh, this is where you put the prompt. But you can see the text here, beautiful scenery, nature, glass bottle, landscape. It's pretty obvious that's the prompt. So you can, this is where you would replace that within the quotation marks there, and this prompt could come from a previous node. For the account here, now if you're running this locally, depending on how you've got N8N set up, if you've got N8N running in Docker, you're going to probably want to go with host.docker.internal. Can I spell that right? And then the port number. Don't need to put anything for the API key because it doesn't take one. Click save, and that's successful. And we could just run that straight off the bat here, and that's going to run that. And that's the most basic way of setting up ComfyUI with N8N. But again, this is very restrictive because all you get back out of this is an image. Now, if you just want to generate images, great. Then this will work for any text to image workflow you've got. Now, if we come over and browse the templates and come over to Flux, these are pretty much the same, right? So if I click Chanel here, and this is what it looks like if you don't have the model. So it's saying download this model, Flux Chanel, and put it in the checkpoints folder. So you will just go ahead and download that, and then go to wherever it's downloaded and drag it into the checkpoints folder here, and then you would reload the page, and then it would become available there. Flux isn't, I haven't got it downloaded on my machine because I've got a 3060, and yeah, we have to get into kind of quantized models, and it becomes a lot slower, and that's why I use RunPod for this kind of stuff, which is what I'm going to switch over to now. So I'm going to close this tab, and this is exactly the same. I've just got a couple of workflows already kind of set up and imported. So we've got the Flux Chanel one here. So this is, again, this is one that's actually directly from this template. So you can do Chanel, dev. The only thing that changes is the actual model. And at this point, this is where, well, I mean, we could still use this particular workflow in the standard node here, because it's text to image, so that would still work. And this particular section is doing exactly what this is doing, but it's more to illustrate kind of the endpoints, how it works and stuff like that. So that's what we'll go with. If I just come down here and I'll walk through these nodes. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, because ComfyUI does have API endpoints, but it doesn't really tell you how to use them. And this is where the trouble lies, and this is why no one's really covered this, because it's not like, oh, you just send your prompt at this endpoint, right? You need to give it you need to export the workflow out as API, and you'd think, okay, well, we'll just, you know, paste that as a JSON object, send that, and it works, and it doesn't. And then you need to, that'll just kind of submit it as a job, so it won't wait until it's complete. Then you need to do some other bits to sort of keep track of that, and that's why I think no one's covered this, because this is a little bit of a tricky thing to deal with. Let's do this simple image generation here. So all I've got set up, again, I'm using RunPod, so I'm going to be using this URL and not my local URL. Now, if you are using RunPod, this URL is going to change every time you fire up an instance. I'm using an RTX 4000 here, Ada. This is 26 cents per hour. I think the price is somewhere. I think it's around there. Which is pretty cheap. You know, you can fire up any graphics card with this. It really comes down to what you want to pay, but for this kind of stuff, it's fine. If we come into prompt here, this is just a simple set node prompt, and then it's actually just the basic prompt that comes with the template. And then we've got a configure node here. Now the reason I've put this here is you've got ComfyUI URL. We actually communicate with Comfy in a few nodes here, and if we change the URL, it's going to be a pain to do this in every node here. So we might as well set it as a variable as such. And then we've got the ComfyUI API JSON, which is definitely a mouthful there. I don't know why I named it like that. And all this is in here is it's the export API. So I've exported that, I've opened it up, I've copied everything, and then I've pasted it in this block here. So that's all the nodes that are in there. Now there is some dynamic values here, so we're actually taking the prompt from the previous node and putting that in there. And again, when you import yours in, you'll see text there, so you'll know, oh okay, I can just replace that with a dynamic value that's coming from somewhere else. And I haven't changed anything else. I think I changed the width here and the height, that was it. And I've just done a little bit of magic here to just generate a random seed each time, because this will run once and then it'll have the same seed value and it'll just keep using that. You won't actually get any new images, so this will just generate a random seed every time, and that's the only thing going on there. If I just run this prep JSON, now when we submit this to the API, it needs to kind of come under this sort of prompt. It needs to be sort of within this prompt as a prompt value, whatever you want to call it. And this is all this code is doing. So this is why you can't just send just a raw JSON file. You have to sort of wrap it up here. But you don't need to worry about that, because this little code node takes care of that. It just takes this, wraps it up, and makes it so it can be submitted as an actual prompt. This will then submit this. So we've got the URL that we add in the configuration, and it's /prompt. And you can see this, all this has done is it's submitted it straight away, and then it's just gave us a prompt ID. And in the JSON field here, I've stringified it, and then I've just done JSON, which is basically going to take the JSON from the previous node. This code node is just going to output JSON. That's what's going in there, and then it's just being wrapped up in a stringify, because if there's odd characters or whatever, it can cause issues. From there, it's gonna go back to the ComfyUI, and it's just getting the history here. So it's using the URL that we configured earlier. It's doing /history and then / the ID that was generated from the submit here. And then it goes into a bit of a loop. Now when this is submitted and we get the history for that ID, nothing's going to get returned. So what's been returned at the moment, because it's complete, let's see, can we come to a simpler view here? So we've got body, then we've got the prompt ID, and then we've got a bunch of stuff within there. Now if it's generating, there's going to be no body, it's just going to be empty. So that's what this loop does. So it just checks, and it says basically if the body's empty, if it's true and it's empty, then just wait, and then just go back round, get the status again, check it again, and at some point, providing it doesn't fail, it's going to have contents in that body, and then that's when we go further down the line here. This formatter is not entirely necessary. Well, I suppose it kind of is, and this is where it gets a little tricky. Yeah, so this is now returned, right? We've got the history, which is, well, we don't see it, but it's what's got passed through to the if node. And then it comes back with a bunch of stuff here. We've got all this prompt stuff. We've got the outputs, we've got status, we've got some meta stuff here. The outputs, so we've got an output, and then we've got an array, and this is just number 9. Now this will be different depending on what workflow you've got going on. This could be like number 50, it could just be some random number. I'm not sure how it determines this number, and that's what this bit of magic is doing here. It's just extracting the file name out, and regardless of the number. This is I've sort of done it like this so it's generic. I've not hard coded that number in because it would fail if you tried running this then on another, I don't know, you was generating a video, a text to video, and then this output comes back and then it's number 140. Then you have to kind of manually come in and change it here. This just takes care of that, and this will just return the image name basically. From there, there's a split node here. Now, if you did want to change and do batches, so if we come into the configure here and come over to the raw kind of JSON API that we copied and pasted in, somewhere in here there'll be a batch number. Here we go. So if you wanted to change this to batches of 2, you could do that, and this will split them out and then it will download each one of them images. So if we have a look at the download node, this is just a simple HTTP node. It's just got the Comfy URL there again. This is why we set the Comfy node. This is why we set the URL in a configure node, because we've used it quite a few times now. And then it's view with a question mark, file name equals output /, and then we give it the file name that it created, and that'll allow us to, that'll basically just download the file for us, and then this is what we get. Very cool indeed, but also very, very messy. I feel there's cleaner ways, and maybe I'll continue with this and figure out cleaner ways, but that's your basic image generation there. Now, Flux Kontext, this is a little different because this takes 2 inputs. It takes text, which is a prompt. It takes a prompt, and then it also takes an image. Now, if you're not familiar with what Flux Kontext is, if I come over to my instance here, my ComfyUI running on RunPod, and load up Flux Kontext, image editing, it is this workflow. There's me. I was tinkering myself. We'll use this image and we'll just run it in here so you can see Flux Kontext working. Now, I'll give you a link as well to a channel, Pixaroma. See his channel's here. Now, he's done a lot of ComfyUI stuff. He's covered this way more than I ever could over the last year, and he's got some absolutely fantastic workflows. So I'll link his channel. I would definitely go and check him out. It's super easy to get these workflows up and running. This is the Flux Kontext dev one that he did. The only thing I've removed is he had a bunch of upscale in there. I wanted to try and keep this simple. And this is your basic, and he tells you here where to download all the models. This is super easy, super easy. So there's me. I'll just select me and uploaded me, and then all I've done for the prompt here is just put remove the tie, and then we'll just click run on this, and you can see how this works in ComfyUI. One of the things to bear in mind with Comfy when it comes to running workflows for the first time, when it comes to initially loading the models, they can take a bit of time to just load in. It actually takes a lot longer on using RunPod because their volumes, I've got a networked volume, so everything's just kind of going over the network, and that takes a little bit of time. If you've got this on your local machine, it'll actually be a lot quicker, but initially for that first run it will take longer than the generations after that. And if we just load this up here on this 4000 Ada, this is taking 2 seconds. It's going to do 20 steps, and it's taking 2.5 seconds to do each step. So depending on your GPU, could be quicker, could be slower. This Flux Kontext is quite a beast of a model. And again, you don't really need to worry about, one of the nice things with Pixaroma with these workflows is you just copy them in, you download the models, put them in the right folders, and then all you need to worry about is uploading an image. In this instance, because it's Flux Kontext, uploading an image, giving it a prompt to what you want it to do, click run, and you don't really need to play around with anything else. It's really that straightforward. And there we go, it's removed the tie. Lovely jubbly. So of course, if we wanted to get this in N8N, maybe we've got we've vibe coded a little picture restoration app, I don't know, you know, and people can upload their old photos and it'll basically come through to N8N as a webhook, and then it will come through this pipeline, and then the image will get sent back to the website. Alright, that's kind of one use case. So again, you would come in, export the API, come into Comfy here, come into N8N, come into the configure, and then paste that in there. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because we want to give it a prompt, but also we need to upload an image. Now there is, if I come over to this node here, we've got the Comfy URL, and then it's /upload/image, and we're just uploading it as a form data, N8N binary file. It's just name image. Probably might need to change that. And then what is it? Where's the data coming from? The previous node will be outputting data. Now, how you get this image there's many ways. This could be, you could have a HTTP node just directly downloading an image. In this case, we're going to do it with a submission form here. If I just bring this form up. This is another way you can do it. All this form is Flux context. You can just input a prompt, and then it's got a file element type there. I will unpin this, and then you can see this form in action. And what it's going to do is it's going to upload that file to Google Drive. It's going to do some configurations. Well, it's easier if we run it, and then we can see the values going through. Here's the form. What's the prompt? Let's see what image we want here. Okay, we'll use this panda. We'll use this panda one. I'm going to rename it. Let's put some numbers there. And then I'm just going to remove the balls from the water. Submit that. That's going to go ahead and upload it to the Googles. Now it's doing its thing. So this is now submitted it. It is processing. And if we come back into, we can see this is being processed here. If you was actually in the terminal, or this particular window here, you would also see any generations in there as well. But it is running. So we've uploaded the file. In the configuration node, we've just set the prompt, and we've just took the prompt from that submission form. And again, this prompt is just text, so it can come from anywhere. Let's make this a bit bigger. I'm just scrolling down here to see if I changed anything else. And then I just set the image name here. So when we submitted the form, we could get the image name from the submitted form. We can get the image name from this upload here to the Google Drive. Get it from a number of places in this particular example. But wherever you're getting this image from, you need to put that here. And on the workflow, that is basically this node here. You're uploading an image. And that's all I've changed there. Again, the ComfyUI URL is the same. Then we download the file. It's a bit weird. We upload, then we download. But because I've got this configure node there, that's kind of just how we have to do it. This will just download it as a binary file. I'm just taking the ID from the past upload node, putting that in there, and then this will download the image for us. And then we just send that as a binary file to ComfyUI. And then from there, it's the standard code stuff, right? We put that prompt in there. Now, it's because we're doing this a bit backwards. We've configured the image name, but then we're uploading it afterwards. So we haven't uploaded it, but we're still determining a name. Basically, when you upload this file, you can see we get a name returned. But we need to put that name in this load node, essentially, in the JSON. So we can do that prior because we know what the image name is going to be. So we can set that, and then we can go ahead and upload it. Doesn't matter which order we do it in. So the code node is just prepping a JSON to be sent off to the prompt. So submit prompt. This is exactly what we did in the first example when we submitted it for Flux there. And then it does the same thing. It's getting the history. It's doing exactly what we covered in here. Oops. I grabbed the wrong thing there. It's doing exactly what this is doing. It's doing a little loop. If there's nothing in the history, because it's getting it by that specific prompt ID, so it's not going to pull up any other history. And if there's nothing there, just keep looping until something appears, which basically means it's complete. It's going to split it out. I don't think we need the split node here because we're not doing these in batches. We could just, let's see if we on this if node. So this is what I was mentioning before about kind of hard coding values here. So you can see now outputs on this one. I think before in the first Flux here, when it was returned, the image output was number 9. But in this, it's 171, and I've manually put that in here. But this then breaks if you load up your own workflow and paste your own workflow in. You're probably going to get a different number back in. So what I would probably do in this instance is, let's see, I will grab this formatter node. Let's just see and make sure this did actually, yeah, it did remove the balls. It did indeed remove the balls. That sounds weird. So I'm going to just sort of fix this on the fly here. I'm going to use this formatter node. Now, instead of me running this all over again, I'm just going to pin the submit prompt. In fact, I'm going to pin a lot of stuff here. I'm going to pin the upload image, the download. I'll probably just pin all of this actually. And just run this again. I'll pin the form as well. Yeah, there we go. So that'll come through. So I need to make a little adjustment here. Okay, I just was scratching my head a second there. So it's because of this here. Submit prompt is not named correctly because it's submit prompt free. Now you would typically just have one of these in the workflow, and you wouldn't have all these weird names and stuff. It's only because I've got this all in one workflow that things are a bit tricky. If we just run that again, there we go. And now we get 2 images back. So let's see. I'm not sure what's going to download there. Again, this is the download part. Yeah, so this has returned 2 images for some strange reason. And this is where this API is just tricky to use, because this is now returned 2 images, and it's because we're using a different workflow, and this is where they'll be tweaking and stuff needed on kind of your side. Now you can just manually come in if you know that, okay, this is always going to return an image. We can just manually put that second one in and just grab this second image, and let's see what that actually is. Resource couldn't be found. Okay. What about this first one? Okay, there we go. So apparently the first image is valid, the second one was not. So that's fine, but this will still run now. I don't know what that second image is. I will unpin all of that and that. And we'll just run that again. I'm going to delete this split node because we don't need it. I'm just going to run it again to see if I'm actually losing my marbles. So let's see here. Oh, let's try this photo here. Restore the image and colorize it. Don't know what we're going to get back here, but let's see. So that's sending it off again. It's doing its loopity loop. Hopefully I haven't just confused the crap out of you. This is a bit of a tricky thing to get set up, and it's an even trickier one to explain just because of the way the ComfyUI API works. It's very, very strange. And there is unfortunately no way of getting any kind of progress on this. I think you would probably want to have some kind of check as well on this, because if this fails or it just, you know, it just stalls and it never generates, this workflow is going to run forever, I think. So you'd probably want to have another check. There we go. So that's done. There we go. Didn't really restore the photo, but it did colorize it. Very cool indeed. And of course, you're getting these images back as binary, so you can have these as part of, you know, this can go on then to do something else. This is just kind of the middle bit to how you would interact, right, with the ComfyUI and its API. Now, it actually gets easier from this point, because this is kind of like the hard part, is just initially getting the two main things set up there, sending in text and sending in images. So to send in an image, you need to use the, well, that's not the right one. You need to use the upload API, give it the image that you need to upload, and then in your prompt, well, not in your prompt, but in the JSON here, where the image node would be, that's where you just put that file name that you've uploaded, and ComfyUI will know. It'll upload it, so I'm not exactly sure where it uploads it, but it'll upload it somewhere, and then it'll know that, okay, that's on the system, we can use that. The next one is, let's just come back here, this is LTX, and this is exactly the same. The only thing different here is obviously the workflow itself. So if I show you the ComfyUI workflow, and again, this one is from Pixaroma. They're just the easiest ones to get set up. So this is LTX text. I've got two of them, text to video and image to video. There is no difference. Well, there is one difference actually. One of them has a, well, I'll load it up instead of me just stumbling. This is exactly the same workflow. The only difference is it's got this image loader here, and that's going into this optional images here that's basically acting as guidance. That's the only difference between the text to video and the image to video. But I thought it was worth showing anyway. Setting this up, go to Pixaroma. I would join his Discord, and he has these all laid out. He has everything laid out really, really nicely, so you can go and download them. Again, I'll link all of this because it's such a valuable resource if you want to get into ComfyUI. I mean, I've learned a lot just in ComfyUI from his tutorials. They're absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's the basic stuff, getting all the models. I'm using a distilled version here, nothing too special. We could run this in here, and this will just run. In fact, let's just do that. And this is what we got back. Now, of course, text to video is a little bit, I'm not really sure where you would use that, because it's just, there's so many variables involved. Yeah, it's image to video is just so much more reliable. But that's what we got. What was the prompt here? A woman with long brown hair, light skin, smiles at another woman with long blonde hair. Okay, let's have a look. Is that right? Yeah, I guess it's kind of right. Looks good. So again, getting this in, we go to the workflow, export as API, and we know that really all we need to do is just give it a text prompt in this instance. We may want to adjust the width and height and the number of frames. So another great thing here, he's put a video note, he's put a little note here that sort of tells you, if you want it to be 4 seconds, put 97 in. If you want it to be 5 seconds, put 121 seconds in. So that is very, very handy. So again, you reset that. You'll come over to workflow, export API, come back to N8N, This time we've got a prompt part here, so you can just put your prompt in here. That's a bit easier than having to try and scroll through a bunch of JSON. And I've also got a bunch of test prompts you can put in here. So I'll just copy one of these. I don't know what I just copied there, but let's just have a quick look at this. A man in a suit enters a room, speaks to two women sitting on the couch. That already sounds suspicious. So we've got the prompt. We don't need this form submission because we're just firing this off. This is just text to video. So same thing with the configure node here. We've got the ComfyUI. Put your ComfyUI URL in there. We've took the prompt from the previous node and just put it in there. And I don't think anything else I've changed in here. This is just a raw copying and pasting. You can, of course, if you scroll down, you'll see a width and a height. You can change these values. We've got the code block. Again, this is just doing some formatting stuff to submit it. So what I'll do is I'll just run this. And it's failed. Bad character. Ooh. Ooh. That's not good. Well, it could be actually because I've got prompt twice, which is not. This is just the ComfyUI JSON API. Alright, that's what that can be. That's probably why it's getting a bit confused, and then we can just drag that value on the top here after we run it. And is this going to work this time? No, it's not. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm going to export it out from Comfy. And then I'm just going to paste it back in. Maybe there was something weird going on there. So just open it up in a text editor, copy everything from there, and paste. And then I'm just going to get rid of this prompt. And put the prompt from in here. And click run. And that's still going to matter. Okay, I have one last Hail Mary up my sleeve. Let's take this and JSONify, stringify. So JSON.stringify, and then we'll just put that in brackets. So I'll get rid of these quotes as well because this is kind of doing it as a string. I have a feeling it's something weird in the prompt here. Could be this /n at the bottom. That could be causing issues. And that was the problem. So we'll just look at that. It's JSON in capital letters dot and then stringify. And then in brackets, that's where you put whatever you want to be sort of converted into a string. I use this all the time because if you do get funny characters like this this \n, which is a new line, it can just break it. And if you just kind of force it to be a string, that will fix it. So a little bit of debugging on the fly there. So this appears to be running. So if we go to the submit prompt here, it's the same deal. It's just submitted that code part there, gave us a prompt ID. It's exactly the same as what we did up here. There's no real difference. It's done its little loopity loop. It's doing a little bit of magic here. Yeah, and this is just basically meaning you don't need to worry about this. Will just give you the output. If you do get an error with this particular part, just know that when we get this body back, this will always have prompt, it'll have outputs, status meta and all this kind of stuff, right? This is all consistent. So if you run this, say you was running a 1.2.1 and it was coming back with, you know, this here is called GIFs, maybe it's called something else, and it's kind of giving you some weirdness, you can just drag the value in, right? Get rid of this and then just drag it in. You know you're going to get one item back, providing you're doing just one batch, and you can just drag that in. It's not best practice to really do that, and that's why I've done it like this. But there is times when we did the Flux Kontext one before, this didn't return this GIFs, so this needed to be changed. Now, of course, I'm sort of familiar with what this is, so it was fairly easy for me. You might not, and that can become a bit tricky. And welcome to the world of ComfyUI and its weird APIs. But again, they're different workflows, so they're going to output different things, different structures. That is, moving on, that is the text to image. Now, the last one. And it's very much the same. This is image to video. And you could look at this exactly as the Flux context. We upload an image. In this instance, I'm doing a little bit extra. We're getting the image information. This is a node that's native in N8N. I didn't even know this node existed until today. But you can blur an image, you can add a border, composite, create an image. You got a bunch of stuff. I never knew these nodes were a thing. But that is pretty cool, knowing that they're there. But I wanted to get the image dimensions, because we're doing... Well, if I load up the workflow here, this will make a bit more sense. So again, there's no difference between this and the text to one, the text to video, other than we've just got this load image node in. I'm going to steal this text here, because we'll just reuse that. Now with this, you kind of want the dimensions or the ratio, aspect ratio, to match the width and the height here. This will really be down. Normally, I don't know, maybe you probably got an image coming from one that you generated from Flux and you want to animate that. You'll need to kind of have these values match, because if you, this is a 16:9 pretty much aspect ratio, but then if you're sending in like a TikTok image, this is just simply not going to work. You're going to need to adjust these width and height values to match that. And yeah, that's actually, this is what this generated. Very, very cool. This LTX model is, I love it. I think it's great, and it's ridiculously quick. So let's just unpin some of these. And this is very much the same sort of deal, right? It's, again, I've just kind of missed a step there, but I've got the workflow. So this is the workflow. Exported it as an API. I've opened it in a text editor. And then in the configure node here, I've pasted it in there. And there's a couple of extra values that I've also changed, the width and the height being one of them. And of course the prompt. And I think they're the only values that have been changed in there. I'm just kind of quickly scrolling through. Oh, I didn't even change the width and the height, so maybe we can do that. So I'm just going to disconnect this up until this point. I'm going to paste that panda prompt in. I'm going to select my panda image here. Upload. And now I'm going to just pin that, because this has already uploaded the file. I'm going to pin the upload as well. This basically means we can just reuse that data. There's no need to upload that file again, and there's no need for me to type this out again. And the reason I've done that is because I just want to show you why I've put this image edit node in here. If we just look at this, first of all, we've got the image. This is what we just uploaded. If we come over to the JSON, we can see we've got all the information on the image, which is pretty cool. But we're just interested in the width and the height, because I'm going to pass them. If I come over to the configure node here and scroll down, oh, where is it? I'm going to put them in there. So edit image, we can see width, and we can just drag these in. So width will go in there. Oops, just got that the wrong way around. And height will go in there. Now this, obviously you don't want to be sending in massive images into LTX, it's going to crumble, but this is where you play and, you know, figure stuff out, you know, figure out its limitations. I'm just going to scroll up here to see if I've missed anything out. So we've got load image here. So this is just because we know we're going to upload this image to ComfyUI. If we scroll down on here, we can see the image name there. So this is going to be uploaded, and ComfyUI will just know that that's the right image. From there, we can download the file. We're just basically taking the ID from what this upload file returned. Then we're going to upload it to Comfy. And then we do the same routine. Whoops, I don't know why I grabbed that there. We're going to do the same routine of submitting the prompt, checking checking its history. Is it in the history? Which means if it is, it's been complete. If it's not, it means it's being processed. And we just run that. And straight away we get a problem. Because I should have pinned that. So okay, that's fine. We'll just do it again. Adorable panda. Upload that. Now another thing to bear in mind when it comes to uploading to ComfyUI, so I'm renaming these images because I've already uploaded this image once. So let's just say my image is called Panda1, or it's just called Panda. And then I upload that. That's going to upload to Comfy, and it's just going to be called panda.jpg, right? Or whatever extension it is. Then if I run this workflow again and select that same image, panda.jpg, when it comes to uploading it to Comfy, that then is going to rename that file. So it's actually going to cause a few issues there. So just be conscious of that, because then it'll just get renamed to like panda in brackets 2. But it won't match the file name that we uploaded. So there would be some extra things. This is only really going to affect you if you're testing. You generally want to rename the file anyway. So that's done. There's no point in really going through these nodes because it's just doing the same thing. We're submitting it. We've got the JSON data here. We're stringifying it. We get the prompt ID back. Right? We've gone through. This is exactly the same as what these are doing. Exactly the same as what this is doing, and the same as what this is doing. Bar with, I don't know why I was uploading a file there. And then we can look, and we should have, oh, look at that panda. They're not the cutest little panda. And of course you can download this video, do whatever with it, right? This is just kind of like, this would be a portion of a workflow. That's it. I mean, I think I've done a terrible job of explaining that. Of course, ask comments. I will try and respond to as many as I can because I know this is a bit of a tricky workflow. If you're trying to get this set up with a custom workflow in ComfyUI and you're having issues, just again drop a comment. I will try and help as many of you out as I can. Yeah, I think about that just about covers it.